Hello and welcome to the Buy, Sell, Hold Spotlight presented by Sports Car Market Magazine. I'm Darren Roberge. Before we begin, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Also be sure to join in the conversation and share your thoughts by leaving us a comment below. Our guest today is Hans Wurl. He is a specialist at Gooding & Company. Welcome, Hans.
Thanks for having me back, Darren.
Absolutely. So a lot going on at Gooding & Company right now. So let's get right to it. What's the latest news from Gooding?
Yeah, well, summers are always really busy for us, so we're preparing for our Pebble Beach sale. But, you know, our year this far has been fantastic. Our Amelia Island auction was record-setting, and as of today, we still have sold the most valuable car in the U.S. this year. A 250 GT California Spider short wheelbase that was about $18 million there. And we also had a fantastic estate sale in Lynchburg, Virginia, the Mark Smith auction, which was a wonderful, wonderful event for us.
Well, let's talk about that Mark Smith auction a little bit. You had some significant results there, but let's kind of circle back and who was Mark Smith and kind of, what was offered and the general scope of it. Just kind of give us sort of the overall picture of what that event was.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mark Smith was kind of a pioneering American collector. He collected his entire life. He was based in Lynchburg, Virginia. He owned a lot of historic properties in that town, which is beautifully picturesque. So his collection ran the gamut, but he really focused on highly original and authentic examples of things. He had one of the greatest Ford Model T and Model A collections with all of the variants. And then his, over the years, he owned significant Ferraris and a number of the most significant pre-war American classics as well. The highlight of the sale, which was 86 lots, and we sold all of that, no reserve. The highlight of the sale was a 32 Chrysler CG Imperial Custom Roadster. And it was one of the only cars that I can remember that was period hot rodded, right? It had a windshield change. It had this incredibly sporty raked windshield and it was unrestored. And it's one of the most beautiful pre-war cars I think I've ever seen, especially American cars. And that just sold incredibly well. I think it went for, $1.6 million, which was our top lot. So a great sale, and it was all done right in his old building, right on Main Street in Lynchburg. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, amazing stuff, amazing car. That was a world record too, if I'm not mistaken. What was the overall result of the sale? How did the whole lot do?
Yeah, the overall, it was obviously 100% sales through rate since it was no reserve, and it was $8.8 million total. So, and which matched our estimates, and really was a great result.
Yeah, good day, good venue, good cars, good guy, good everything. So good stuff indeed, and more good stuff on the way. Pebble Beach auction, Monterey 2023, August 18th and 19th. What should people expect this year? What's new? What are you kind of gearing up for up there?
Yeah, people should expect, what we always provide, which is an exciting and engaging sale process and show. We really focus on attention to detail and sound business practices and offering the highest quality and most special collector cars in the world. And it's obviously our showcase event. And we really pride ourselves on bringing cars to market that are truly special at Pebble Beach. And we're going to be doing that again this year.
Yeah, and you got some special stuff. There's no doubt about that. Let's start right from the top here. 1962 Ferrari 250 short wheelbase Berlinetta. It's kind of the greatest driver's car of all time, or certainly one of them. Give us the rundown on this car. Let's kind of talk about what makes this car so special, and what do you think it's going to sell for?
Yeah, Ferrari short wheelbase is always a highlight for anybody, and for any auction house, it's always going to be a headline, and it's our headline car for our Pebble Beach sales this year. This particular car ramps it up another notch from there. It's a car that's only had 4 owners from new. It's unrestored. It's been painted, but it retains its original interior. It's never been offered for public sale. It's just a beautiful kind of a gray green over a beige interior. It's matching numbers. It's got 33,000 miles from new. You set up some boxes and this car basically ticks them if you're shopping for short wheelbases. And so, we're so excited. This is one of those cars that people are just going to go gaga over, I think. And, it's perfect for Pebble Beach.
Yeah, fabulous color, fabulous car, should do incredibly well. Another car that you have that should do well is a 1933 Bugatti Type 55 Roadster. Estimate on that, $8 to $10 million. Where do you think we wind up on that one? And talk about the attributes of that particular vehicle.
There's a lot of, there's been quite a few Type 55s that have sold over the last few years for very, very strong numbers. They're one of the most beautiful body shapes, a Jean Bugatti styled car, one of the most renowned body shapes of any classic car in the world. And this is just another, a great example. This was a Bugatti factory show car. And it just has incredible provenance, including Ralph Lauren at one point. Its original coachwork and matching numbers drivetrain. And so again, another car that is a high level of quality and a really, really extremely nice example of a Type 55.
It's an exceptional car, no question. And with pedigree ownership like that, it should do incredibly well. Monterey is kind of always known as sort of a sporting type of series for the cars that are on offer. Of course, the in conjunction with the Monterey Historics at Laguna Seca over there. And you've got a couple of Porsches that I think probably fit that bill pretty well. 1960 Porsche RS60 and a 1975 Porsche 911 Carrera 3.0 RSR. Let's talk about these cars and kind of break down the differences of them and who the owners are potentially for these, and what kind of price range they're going to land in, and what do you do with these cars?
Yeah, we love having race cars at Pebble Beach, and we always do really well with them. As you say, I guess it's called the Rolex Motorsport Reunion that happens in Monterey these days is such a pivotal event for that entire weekend. And so there's always a lot of people who are very interested in taking a peek at our vintage race car offerings. The RS60 that we have is really, really a rare example because it still retains its original engine and it never had an accident in period. The most intriguing part of this car is that it was entered in 17 events and it won its class in 12 of them in period. It was also owned for a short time by Bruce Jennings, King Carrera, as he's known, a famous racer from the period. So that's just an absolute blue chip up in RS60, original bodywork, et cetera, et cetera. The 75 RSR was ex-Vasek Pollock, and it was owned by him from new for decades. It only has a single race. Milt Minter raced it at Laguna Seca, and I believe it was the Laguna Seca 100 in 1976. So it's a car with single race. But what that means is that the car was never thrashed. It was never turned into a 935. And so it really is a car of real inherent quality. And it's been owned by someone who's done recent events like the Red Sport Reunion, and it's even been raced at Le Mans Classic recently, as has the RS60 actually. So two great racing Porsches. And again, trying to keep the quality bar as high as possible for the Pebble Beach sale. And I think we're doing our job with those ones.
Yeah, I love the local connection on that RSR. And I mean, you're right. It is super hard to find an RS60 that doesn't have a motor that's blown to smithereens and it hasn't been put into walls and stuff. And the fact that it was involved in that many races and survived and won that many races is pretty astonishing. A couple more cars that you have that are pretty astonishing too. And they're the same, but they're not. We'll kind of talk about the differences on them. 1966 Ferrari 275 GTB. It's a late production torque tube car. Fabulous color on this thing. Fabulous color. It was kind of what your first car out of the gates at the beginning of the marketing for Pebble Beach this year. And in addition, you have a 67 275 GTB4, another great looking car, great color on that one. What would make somebody want one of these over the other? What kind of price comparisons are we talking here? Break down the differences on these cars and where and why that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. So the 275 2-cam that we have, the first one you talked about, and the color you're speaking of is called Verde Medio. So it's a metallic medium green, and it's just, as you say, stunning. And I love green cars. I have a green car. I just absolutely fell for this car as soon as I saw it. So this is a very, very late. These cars are kind of right together in Ferrari's timeline because this is as late specification 2-cam as you're going to find. So it's the long nose, it's the torque tube, it's what everybody wants. And then the 4-cam that we have is the next year, 1967. That's a fly yellow car. Again, another great color. And so obviously, Ferrari added twin cam cylinder heads to the Colombo V12 and created something with even more power and exclusivity and panache, et cetera. So, the differences in price is pretty small. The 2-cam is 2.8 to 3.5 million, and the 4-cam is just a little higher at 3.25 to 3.75. They really offer a very comparable experience, but when you drive a 4-cam, the extra grunt is there and you can feel it and you know it. And they make a little bit of a different noise because there's a lot more valve train stuff going on and things like that. But, some people like a little more purity to the original design with the 2-cam. And then other people have to have maybe the ultimate iteration. And that would be a potential 4-cam buyer.
Yeah, I mean, you hear people kind of argue back and forth a little bit about the earlier cars being the more pure and then the more exciting and more fun with the 275. But there's definitely more going on with the 4-cam cars. So, for me, like that 66 really kind of feels like it fuses the gap between the two of those to a certain degree. So it's a pretty fascinating car. They're both fascinating cars, both wonderful. Another kind of pair of interesting bookends that you have. And I've been very vocal on my show about my love for the 330. You have a 68 Ferrari 330 GTS. This is an ex-Hera car, which is immediately a good thing. And it's currently in a prominent Southern California collection. You also have a 275 GTS. So, you kind of see the different camps going their different ways on this car. For you and for most of your buyers, like, how do you see them sort of react to cars that are similar like this, but just that little bit different?
Yeah, it's somewhat similar to what we just talked about with the 275s, isn't it? Yeah. So, these are both open Ferraris based on more or less the same chassis. And one of, the later car got a displacement increase in this instance and has a little more performance and obviously a different nose shape. And there were some other, differences in the features of the two cars. And so, you can get into a 275 GTS at a little bit of a lower number. There's more of them. I believe it's 200 built and the 330 GTS is 100 built, right? And so, that might differentiate. There's also always going to be some aesthetic, differences between the people might like between the styling on the front end. And, the 330 GTS, as you mentioned, is an ex-Hera car. This was a car that was on the cover of Road and Track magazine in 1969, and it's 27,000 miles from new. It's a well-known car that has, really, really been, kind of out there and loved and in great collections. And it's one of the ultimate examples of the 330 GTS, which of course is the ultimate open Ferrari of its time.
Yeah, I mean, it's about as good as it gets. I love the color combination on it. The ownership history, it's as good as it gets for me. That's the car. What potentially may be the most interesting lot in all of Pebble Beach and all of Monterey this year is something that you guys have. And I was blown away by this when I first saw this 1912 Simplex 50 horsepower toy to new car, and this car's been in the same family for 111 years. 111 years of continuous family ownership. What is the story on this?
It's just remarkable, and it's one of those things that's almost a little hard to wrap your brain around because there's all kinds of reasons why people go through cars. So when you try to find anybody who's owned anything for 111 years or any family, let's say, right? That's difficult. Maybe a table, a painting, things that aren't in the way, right? You don't have to store in a garage in its own building or remain enthusiastic about. This family bought this, 50 horsepower Simplex new. And what makes it all the more remarkable is that a 50 horsepower Simplex in 1912 was pretty much the hottest thing going. These are extraordinary cars. So even if you had one that was bought 2 years ago by somebody, it's still an amazing thing to bring to an auction. But couple that with its incredible single family ownership. And not only that, Darren, this car has never even lived on a different property. It's lived on the same property for 111 years. They apparently have had two different garages that it's lived in over that span of time. Or it was early at a carriage house and then there's a car barn that's been built, but the same piece of property. So it's really, really a remarkable car. It's well restored. It's also been to Pebble Beach Concours and done those types of things. But I don't know where anyone else, it's hard enough to find a 50 horse Simplex. I don't know where anyone else is going to find one out of single family ownership from brand new. It's remarkable. We're so excited, honored. And that gets used a little bit, but honored to be able to sell this car.
Yeah, it's an astonishing story, no question about it. And I mean, I've been doing this quite a while now, and I can't think of any time where I've ever seen a car that came out of triple digit family ownership. This is a rare opportunity. And again, it's a vetted car, it's a valuable car, it's an important car. I mean, where are the boxes that aren't checked with this thing? I mean, it's truly incredible for sure.
People are gonna enjoy one more thing. People are gonna enjoy looking through the photos on this car. There should be, right? Great black and whites. of the family with it from all these different generations. And it's so cool.
Amazing.
So cool.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Another lot of amazing cars that you have here. And one of these in particular really caught my eye. I'll explain why here in a second, but you have a collection of Italian sports cars that are all up for no reserve. And what immediately jumped out at me, 1973 Ferrari 308 GT4 Dino. Normally pretty affordable path to entry for the Ferrari world if you want to go that route. Not this one. $500,000 to $700,000 reserve on this, a pre-auction estimate on this. Justify this for me. Like, how is this car worth that much money?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So yeah, like you said, there's 4 cars in this collection. They're all being sold without reserve. So the 308 GT4 is the first V8 powered Ferrari road car, and it's the first Ferrari 308. It is impeccably restored. It was the Paris show car in 1973. So it really ticks a lot of boxes. And the 308 GT4 is already getting its due with a lot of people. There's been some pretty significant prices paid now, both publicly and privately for very, very good GT4s. And this is undoubtedly the best of them. This is the first. And interestingly, Darren, this car was built well within the range of 246 Dino production. And so there were many 246s built after this car. So this is an incredibly, it's the first one, and it's a lot earlier than the standard production cars came out.
Yeah, fascinating car, fascinating lot for sure. And I mean, I would think we'd be foolish to think that this would not be a world record set for you guys in Pebble Beach. Kind of go on the other end of that, you've got a 92 512 TR, easily the best version of the Testarossa, in my opinion, and probably everyone else's as well. How does this stack up to some of the other offerings that were out there, say like the Diablo or, some of the Porsches that were available at that particular time? I mean, what makes this car better than those?
Yeah, the 512 TR got so many improvements over the standard TR that it replaced. It was wholesale improvements throughout the entire car, whether it was performance or comfort, drivability, reliability. There was just so many changes, and it really created something that was more usable and more on par, I think, with the cars that you mentioned in terms of performance. And this is a car that, again, all these cars actually are just completely over the top restored. This car was done in as almost a custom sense. It's got a lot of F512M upgrades done to it, et cetera. The other 2 cars in that collection are an Alfa Romeo Montreal and an Alfa Romeo 2600 Spider. And just like the first 2, restored to the nines, great colors, beautiful presentation, and I think they're going to be really well received.
Yeah, it's a great little group of cars, certainly, and again, available completely without reserve. So go stick your hat in the ring and see if it gets filled. So certainly, really cool stuff. Sticking with Alfa Romeo a little bit here, probably my favorite lot that I've seen so far in anyone's catalog in Pebble Beach so far. Get ready for this one. 1973 Alfa Romeo F12 van, $100,000 to $130,000 reserve estimate without reserve. This thing is seriously, seriously cool. Give us the rundown here.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. And this is there's kind of a tradition of us having a really interesting last lot in our sales. And this will be the last lot on one of the days. And it's just perfect for that because it's so intriguing. So basically this thing was restored in an Auto Delta racing livery, although there's no real connection to Auto Delta. And what the owner did was they actually completely rebuilt and restored another Alfa Romeo engine and gearbox, and they put it on and mounted in the back of the van. So not only is it this incredible Alfa Romeo van in a racing livery, but you open it up and they've kind of got it mocked up like it's hauling a racing engine, like maybe it would have in the period. And it's so well done. And it's just one of those things that people are going to react to incredibly positively. And it's probably going to go for a lot of money. And it's just, again, perfect for Pebble Beach and a really great addition to our sale. Always want to have something for everybody and have stuff that we can have fun with. And this is nothing but fun.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, and look at me. I got a huge smile on my face right now, just even thinking about this thing. I mean, this thing is astonishing. And certainly I suspect that people will get emotional about this for sure. And that will increase the bidding on it. So whatever anybody decides to pay for it, it's worth every penny. There's no question about that. Also worth mentioning, you guys have a couple of really fantastic motorcycles. Go visit goodingandcompany.com and take a look at that. if you're a bike person as well. But moving on from Pebble Beach, London 2023, you guys were just there not too long ago, and you guys did something pretty significant while you were there too. Recap the last installment of this before we kind of dive into what you guys are getting ready to do over there.
Yeah, we hold our London sale at the Hampton Court Palace at the Royal Concours there every year. And we're just thrilled again to be able to do that this year and be associated with that event, which is just completely over the top and spectacular. And it's such a neat place to do an event. It's a real honor. So yeah, like you said, last year was a wonderful auction, and we sold the highest value car in the UK of all of last year, which was a Comp 60 short wheelbase Ferrari 250 GT short wheelbase. And that was for £7 million, right around there. And so, having that sale every year on our calendar now has allowed us to service our clients that might not want to send their cars to the US. And that's a huge thing for us. So we're thrilled to be able to do it again this year. And we've got some great stuff lined up.
Yeah, you get some interesting cars that you're coming out of the gates with pretty early here. Right off the top here, a pair of very early production Jags. You're in the UK, you got to have some great Jags. So these are pretty good ones here. Why don't you tell us about them?
Yeah, this is more or less as good as it gets. We're really, really excited to announce these cars. So the first one is they're both 1961s. The first one is a coupe, and it is the very first right-hand drive E-Type coupe. And it's one of only 4 built with outside latches. And so, as a headline goes, that's pretty much as good as it gets, right? The first of, and obviously these early cars were basically hand built. And the second car, Darren, is a roadster, and it's the very first production E-Type sold. And the first owner was Lofty England, who was Jaguar's race team manager. So, this car was pictured with Graham Hill at Oulton Park after he claimed the inaugural win for another E-Type that he was driving. It was at the center of Jaguar activity at the time. And it's the first E-Type Roadster sold. So as a pair, and they were restored by CMC in England. And as a pair, they're kind of unparalleled to be able to, at a single auction, to have the opportunity to bid on one or both of these. They're really extraordinary cars.
Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point. They're so extraordinary and so unique. And I think the Simplex kind of falls into this category also. So like, how do you come up with an estimate on this? Like, how do you value these cars initially? Because honestly, like, the market really is going to have to speak to the value of this stuff.
In a best case scenario, as an auction house, you just want to be able to have a dialogue with the owner of the car and try to meet everybody's needs involved. We certainly love the idea, and we hang our hat on the idea that an auction market will set an accurate valuation for a car. And in this instance, we were able to come to, estimates and reserve prices for these two cars that we think are reasonable using our kind of vast experience and what we hope we see. But they are, the rarer they are and the more extraordinary, the harder that can be to come to that consensus and to come to an accurate valuation. So we'll see how we did. But you're right when you say that, when you bring cars of real significance to auction, the market is going to set the value, and you need to more or less be ready to listen to what they're saying.
Yeah, grab and hang on for sure. So another car that kind of fits the category of hang on is an Aston Martin Indiana. What is that exactly?
Yeah, so there was Stanley Wacky Arnault, who was a Chicago-based guy, and he, he's known for Arnold Bristols and things like that, and he did 4 Aston Martins with Bertone one-off custom coachworks, and we've sold at least one other. And this is one of those cars. It's called the Indiana, and it's just a beautiful thing, absolutely stunning. It was recently restored. The estimate on that is 1.2 to 1.8 million pounds. And I think it's going to be really well received. It's just a lovely, lovely car.
So what is that based off of exactly? What's the underpinnings of that car?
It's a DB24. So the car's a 1954 Aston DB24. And it's basically got a one-off Bertone body. So it's an English car sent to Bertone and bodied. And Arnold did that with numerous Astons from that era.
That's fascinating indeed. So, and you got some Porsches that are coming to that event as well. Why don't you kind of quickly give us a rundown of what's going to be available there?
Yeah, there's a 964 Carrera RS 3.8, which, they only built 55 of those cars. Those are highly sought after. This one is in speed yellow. They did 12 speed yellows, examples of that car. So every time we have one of those, we always do incredibly well, and people are beating our door down. And another car that's a little lower value, but no less interesting, is in 2013, Porsche did a Club Coupe, and they've done Club Coupes for the Porsche Club of America, but this one was to commemorate all the original 13 Porsche clubs. And so this is a 991. It was done in a color called Family Green. And there's this great letter in the file from Wolfgang Porsche to the owner. And you could only get these cars through a lottery with Porsche because they only built 13. And there's this great letter explaining this color. And this is a color you can't even get through the paint to sample system through Porsche. So it's this great 991 coupe. Like I said, they built 13. There were only 2 in right-hand drive, and this is the only one that ever made it to England. So it's a really, really rare car. And when you think about what people are really prizing in the modern Porsche market, things of rarity and exclusivity and cool colors and all that kind of stuff, I think this one ticks those boxes for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of cars ticking a lot of boxes in that list right there. Should be a good couple of events for Gooding & Company. Okay, Hans, you're out hitting the pavement all around the world in this little hobby of ours here. So why don't you give us one car to buy, one car to sell, and one car to hold in today's marketplace?
I've been really intrigued recently by the strength in what would have otherwise been kind of looked at as mid-level Lamborghinis. We were lucky enough to sell a Lamborghini Islero that was just of wonderful quality last year. It brought a really, really strong price. I can see that as Countachs and other things go up in value, and Miuras obviously are really high, I can see that, there's going to be some movement in the Lamborghini market if you can find the right car. So I would definitely look for something like that to buy. When it comes to sell, I think that if you just have a pedestrian pre-war classic, that it might be time. There might be time to move on from something like that unless it's bringing joy to your life. If we're just thinking of strategically, it might be time to move on from anything that you're not really absolutely in love with, or it's filling your cup. And then for me, a hold would be any blue chip supercar of real quality. They are not making stuff like that anymore, whether it's an F40, F50, Enzo, Carrera GT, you pick it, whatever you like. I think that they're really, really going to be things with long lasting appeal to collectors throughout, the coming years.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on the Lamborghinis. I feel like those cars are incredibly underrated considering what they are. I mean, the Islero, the Espada is totally insane and awesome in every way. And there's a few, there's a little bit of variety there. There's some obscure models that can be picked up that are really unique, that provide a fun driving experience, interesting ownership experience, et cetera. So that seems like, a real solid thing to pick up right now if you're looking for something to enjoy that's probably going to appreciate, like you said, with some of the modern supercars, the last round of analog stuff that's out there that is lighting the market on fire right now. And I think you're right too. The pre-war market is very hot, but it's only kind of very hot in one place. And that would be the exclusive, the rare, the special. So the more mundane, everyday stuff, like at your estate sale, the Smith sale that you did earlier, the things that rang the bell, the things that really created the buzz and the excitement was that incredible Chrysler that you guys had. And the reason it was is because it was so interesting. So, I mean, I think that's all solid advice across the board there. So, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, on that topic. Yeah, I agree with, it's all about special. It's all about quality. It's all about rarity and exclusivity. If you have something that you can't repeat that opportunity, then people are going to want it. And if it's something that everybody has one, then, there's a chance that there might not be as much strength from a value standpoint.
Yeah, that's absolutely the truth. 100%. So where can people go to learn more?
Please visit our website, www.goodingco.com. And then we're obviously on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find us at all those places. And our doors are open, whether it's through our specialist team like myself, if anybody needs advice or would just like, to chat valuations, we're always open. And then please come see us at, whether it's Pebble Beach or it's at Hampton Court Palace in London this year. We'd love to have you and look forward to seeing anybody who'd like to show up.
Yeah, nice folks, good events, great environment, gooding's a good time for sure. So I would like to thank Hans Wurl for joining us today. To learn more about anything that we discussed here, be sure to pick up the latest issue of Sports Car Market magazine by visiting the link in the video description down below. As a reminder, if you enjoyed this content, please take a moment to like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay on top of future episodes. I'm Darren Roberge, and thank you for joining us on the Buy, Sell, Hold Spotlight.